Hello, hello. I hope you're well, that you and your loved ones are healthy, and that you're able to find moments of peace in this wild world we share. Like you've told me in the past, we see the world very differently. So I'm writing today to ask for your help. I'm going to lay out some things I believe are true, but maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe there's some data that I'm going to share that you weren't aware of. I love you, and I'd very much like to reconcile my idea of you, the loving person I know you to be, with some of your actions I believe are directly causing harm to people that we both care about. 1. Trans people exist. There are people who don't feel like their gender matches the sex they were assigned at birth. Transgender is the word we use for these folks, and cisgender is the term we use for the opposite. Some trans folks are wonderful and caring. Others are assholes. One's gender identity is just one part of who they are as people, just like it is for cis folks. Being trans isn't a phase. It's not a fleeting thought. Trans people are persistent, consistent, and insistent in who they are. They always have been. We have records going back throughout history, across cultures. But even if trans people just appeared last week, that doesn't change the reality that maybe 1 or 2 out of every 100 people fall outside a strict gender binary. Whether you think this is good or bad or have opinions about the causes doesn't change that reality. Trans people exist. They're in your life. And you love some of them. 2. Trans people can't be fixed. Conversion therapy can't make a gay man straight, and it can't make a trans woman cis. It's been tried for decades, sometimes by people very desperate to make it work. It doesn't. Every major medical and psychiatric body in the developed world, independently across countries with different politics and healthcare systems, has reached the same conclusion. What conversion therapy does do is cause depression, PTSD, substance abuse, and suicide. This isn't controversial. This isn't woke. There isn't a single peer-reviewed study suggesting conversion therapy is safe or effective. It's awful, and it doesn't work. Remember how I said trans people aren't new? In the 50s into the 80s, conversion therapies included electric shock, hard labor, drugs to induce vomiting, and even lobotomies. They didn't work then. Modern methods might seem less barbaric on the surface, but they still don't work. Imagine being subjected to sustained, coercive, manipulative, and abusive attempts to convince you, like imagine this for you, that you're actually not the gender that you think you are. Like, imagine that. Would it work? No. It wouldn't work on you in the exact same way it doesn't work with trans folks, both trans adults and trans youth. What it would do is lead directly to you being significantly more likely to suffer from PTSD, depression, and suicidal ideation. So that sucks. But good news. 3. Gender-affirming care saves lives. Gender-affirming care or gender-affirming support is what we call the social, psychological, and medical support that affirms somebody's gender identity. So this can include family acceptance, social support, using preferred names and pronouns, therapy, puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgery. Surgery for adults, it's exceptionally rare with minors. Does that sound woke? Like, do you think maybe trans youth shouldn't have access to gender-affirming care? Let me blow your mind. The medical interventions, like puberty blockers and hormone therapies, that have become the culture war issue have been given to cis kids for 40 years without controversy. When cis kids have precocious puberty, they get puberty blockers. When cis kids have hormonal issues that change their bodies in ways that don't match their gender, they get hormone treatment. Adults benefit from the same. Cis adults. Decades of research across multiple countries and healthcare systems shows gender-affirming care works. Trans adults and trans youth who receive gender-affirming care show 60% lower rates of depression and 73% lower rates of suicidal ideation. That's fucking huge. We know from the overwhelming evidence that we can reduce depression and death by suicide in a specific subset of youth and adults. It works. It's the only thing that works. And this isn't about just youth, but that's where the data is the sharpest. Trans adults denied care show the same pattern. The suffering doesn't age out. Trans people who are denied gender-affirming care don't stop being trans. They just suffer more. 4. Laws targeting trans people kill them. A study tracking tens of thousands of trans and non-binary young people across 5 years established causally, not just like a correlation, that anti-trans legislation drives up to a 72% increase in suicide attempts among trans youth. Here's what the laws look like in practice. West Virginia passed a law banning trans girls from school sports. The only trans athlete in the entire state was an 11-year-old middle schooler named Becky, who just wanted to run track with her friends. The entire state government mobilized to pass a law that made it sure that one kid could not play sports with their friends. Texas passed a law defining gender-affirming care as child abuse. So imagine having a trans kid, and the government classifying the only healthcare known to decrease depression and suicidal ideation as child abuse. In Idaho, providing gender-affirming care is a felony offense. Students can sue their schools if a trans classmate uses the bathroom, and teachers are legally required to out trans youth to their parents. Nationally, the FCC is proposing right now to label the mere existence of trans or non-binary characters on television as content requiring a parental warning, putting trans people existing in the same category as violence and sexual content. There are currently over 700 active anti-trans bills being pushed across 42 states and the US federally. These bills directly lead to suicide, depression, broken relationships, and more. Directly. And a quick aside, if you'll indulge me, anti-trans laws make life worse for all women by sheer population percentages. The overwhelming majority of women getting harassed for using the quote-unquote wrong restroom are cis women. Is this the kind of country and society you want to live in, where any random asshole has legal justification to accost any woman on her way to the restroom? 5. The Republican Party's actions and rhetoric run counter to every claim I've made. On his first day in office, Trump signed an executive order defining trans people out of existence. Passports were changed, federal employees were fired, military service was banned, and trans troops were discharged. Medical care was defunded. This isn't just talk. These were the first acts of the new administration. And right now, the federal government is demanding the names, addresses, and socials of trans people and the doctors who treat them. Unfortunately, the world has seen this before. Maybe you know where this is going. Remember, again, how trans folks aren't a new thing? The world's first gender-affirming medical clinic opened in 1919 in Berlin. It provided gender-affirming care, it employed trans staff, and it provided the general public with sexual health services. In May 1933, within months of Hitler taking power, Nazi students raided the clinic, they burned the research, and they seized the patient lists, which were used to identify trans folk who wound up in concentration camps. I'm not calling anybody a Nazi, but I hope you'll take just a moment to acknowledge the parallels. Defining a group out of legal existence, criminalizing their public presence, criminalizing the only healthcare that works, and demanding patient medical records, that should give all of us cause for concern. Too long, didn't read. I appreciate you sticking with me. I hope I've been clear, but I'd like to quickly recap. Trans people exist. Trans people can't be made cis. Gender-affirming care saves lives, and anti-trans laws cause death. The Republican platform's call to end left-wing gender insanity, that is a heading in the party platform, is directly responsible for pain and death. I love you. I love you so much. I know you don't consider yourself anti-trans. I know your Republican voting friends, some of whom I also know and love, aren't some caricature of transphobic monsters. But this isn't about what's in your heart. How are we to reconcile your love and support for the trans people in your life with your support for an explicitly anti-trans government that is, put plainly, killing trans youth and trans adults? I'd like to say this isn't about Republicans versus Democrats. It's about how we treat each other and the impact of laws and public policy that we vote for. It's about real kids just trying to grow up without thinking about ending it. And it's about real people just trying to use the restroom without risking a felony charge. I'd like to say that, but it's clearly a partisan political issue. Being anti-trans is what Republicans campaign on, and that's what your vote empowers. I love you. I'm not writing this to shame you or to win an argument. I want you and I both to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. I want us to make the world a more joyous place for everybody, no matter what pronouns they use or what genitals they have. Thanks again for listening. I hope this was helpful, if only to understand my perspective. Like I said, if I've missed something, I'd be grateful to update my understanding to better reflect our shared reality.